What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head. Now, WWE War Games has come and gone, and before that, a few weeks before the WWE War Games, you had Blood and Guts. Now we're going to talk about which event was better. And I'm going to keep it one thou out, as I always do. Now, AEW, I believe, represents the idea of WCW/NWA's War Games better than the WWE. And I understand why the WWE doesn't go full bore on the War Games, the traditional War Games that Dusty Rhodes created, which was the roof on the top of the cage, and you can't win by pinfall. It's only by submission and knockout. That is the original ruling for War Games. And then, of course, you have the countdowns, and you have, are they in a cage? Are they secluded backstage? All that is up for interpretation, but the guts, the heart of War Games is when there's a roof on top of the cage and you cannot win by pinfall. You can only win by submission and knockout. And I understand why WWE doesn't do that. They don't do the roof on the cage, I assume, because of Hell in a Cell, and they want to be able to distinguish it different and brand it different. And so they don't go that route. Instead, it's basically like an enlarged steel cage that's wrapped around two rings. And this isn't so much, War Games, when I grew up, War Games was when two warring factions, they had to settle their differences in the ring. It usually involved the Four Horsemen and some iteration of them. And then later it became more of the NWO, right? So you had Team WCW, these, even the Four Horsemen at some point went and battled the NWO. That was what War Games was about. Lately, the WWE specifically has been doing War Games where it's basically an all-star game. It's basically bragging rights in a steel cage. It's basically the red against the blue. The Bloods against the Crips. The Raw against the SmackDown. That is typically what the WWE markets. And I understand that. And if that's the route that they would like to go, I have no problem with that. As long as they mix and match the participants. So it's not just all SmackDown against all Raw. No, it's the best of the best of the best, to quote JD from NY206. It's the best fan favorites against the best most hated every year in the War Games match. I think that will be a little bit better to digest than them just trying to find a reason why these guys team together to go against these enemies, etc., etc. With the AEW Blood and Guts, they do a similar thing where they're just trying to fight to get a bunch of people together and make sense out of it all. But they do War Games where it's ultra violent. People are bleeding. I mean, there's weapons involved. There's a roof on top of the cage. There's usually a stunt that happens on the roof of the top of the cage. Although I don't think they did that this year. They did have Mark Briscoe go to the top of the cage with Wheeler Yuta, but they didn't really do anything explosive like with Sammy Guevara, where they threw him off the top of the cage and sent him through a crash pad at the bottom of the cage. If I have to choose who did the War Games concept better, I would say it was AEW for being more true to the tradition of War Games. But the one thing that I've got to slight the AEW on is that they didn't use like their superstars. And granted, a lot of them were injured. I mean, we didn't see Swerve Strickland return until fairly recently. So I got to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. And I don't expect AEW to go the all-star route with their War Games, their Blood and Guts. But they could benefit by doing that. Now, and one of the things that's really different about their Blood and Guts / War Games style for AEW is that they put it on broadcast television. WWE has combined it with Survivor Series because that's the logical bond there, is that Survivor Series was usually 4 to 5 men teams that battled one another, so 10-man tags or 8-man tags, and they did it in a traditional elimination environment. So they just added War Games, which was logical, because logic would lead to believe that the War Games is usually a 4 to 5 man against 4 to 5 men, so either an 8-man or 10-man tag inside of a steel cage. Makes a lot of sense to me. But AEW handles the concept a lot better, in my opinion. They give it more time to breathe. The WWE is all about big moments. So I get CM Punk, super old school traditional guy. Cody Rhodes, super old school traditional guy. So they got juice, they got color, but they weren't bleeding profusely. They kept it conservative. But they Punk Punk's a great mind. They're lucky to have a guy like CM Punk there because he kept the tradition alive. But other than that, the way that they brand it, it's just not super exciting to me. So in my opinion, I don't think one was better than the other. And I know it seems like I'm pussyfooting around, like making a distinction. I just think AEW handles blood and guts / war games better because they stick to the rules, while WWE does the spectacle better, and they keep it to where it's the top talent in the cage, so the stakes are higher, even when there are no stakes. But to see someone like Brock Lesnar in the War Games match was a big deal. And for them to find unique ways to get around the rules of, like, for instance, a forfeit. They did that it was clever. And to see Roman Reigns walk down the aisle and then stop and do a old Wild West standoff with Brock Lesnar outside of the cage, and they brawl all around the cage, I thought was great stuff. So they all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. AEW does have strengths in regards to that. So does the WWE, and they both have weaknesses. Mostly they share those weaknesses. But I think the conclusion I will make here, so that I can keep this video just a tad bit short, is that AEW and the WWE would be wise to not have this every year. Do not run this concept into the ground to where people don't care about it anymore. They did that with Hell in a Cell, and they are still trying to repair the damage that it has done to this day. They even had a Hell in a Cell PLE, for crying out loud, in the WWE. It's a special thing that should be brought out when necessary to heighten the stakes, to really bring a conclusion to a story. If the faction is threatening the very foundation of a company, and guys that are very competitive with one another decide, hey, we've got to come together so that we can stop this faction, and then we'll get back to beating the shit out of each other. But for right now, we have got to concentrate on getting rid of the stable. That is where War Games is needed. So I would say War Games should not be an annual event for AEW or the WWE. AEW will probably do it every year on television because I think it's a ratings bringer. It gives them great ratings. I think they got their highest rating this year when they had Blood and Guts on their television program. And if you ask me, I think the WWE is going to split the War Games into 2 nights. I think you're going to get Survivor Series Night 1, Survivor Series Night 2. I think they're going to do the women on Night 1 and the men on Night 2. And I don't know what kind of stakes. Like if the team captain wins, they get a title shot. Bragging rights, right? And to determine who the team captain is, the 2 top guys in the War Games teams will battle it out or something. I don't know. They'll find something. But I do believe that War Games will continue in the WWE annually because it's a branding thing. It's a money-making thing. They're going to be in stadiums. But the wrestling fan in me just really has to come across. It's coming from my heart here, guys. You do not have to do this every year. You really don't. Just like Hell in a Cell. You do not have to do Hell in a Cell every year. Hell, when they used to do ladder matches, they didn't do them every year. They did them when it mattered. Tables, ladders, and chairs. They ran that out. They dried that well. They dried that well out. Don't dry the well of War Games, guys. Don't make it a chore for wrestling fans to get through. Make it exciting. So when William Regal pops out of, he could pop out of anywhere. Pop out of the ring like Undertaker and go, War Games. Like, it's got to mean something, guys. That's all I'm saying. But who did it better? I mean, honestly, I think they both can use some tweaking on the way that they handle and the way that they format their versions of the match beyond. And I think AEW sticks to the heart of the rules, and WWE is just, they really get the spectacle of it all. And putting their top talent in, it doesn't hurt. But what do you guys think? Who was better? Was it AEW's Blood and Guts version of the Match Beyond, or was it WWE Survivor Series War Games Match Beyond? What was better to you? Who had the better concept? Who kept it traditional? What do you guys think of all of that? Do you think it should be every year? You guys let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, there is so much more on the channel. That little thing where it says it's got my logo on it, go ahead and click that, and then you'll get opened up to my portal, the portal of pro wrestling, where I talk about all kinds of wrestling, where I give you my opinion on the current product, and I, mix and thread some things from the past as well. If you like this video and you like the other videos, it's a handshake agreement. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because it's free 99, and all it does is provide you an opportunity to hear me yap off about professional wrestling, and I hope an entertaining way, but that's for you to decide. And for me, it gives me another member of the audience for me to spout off my love of professional wrestling too. So if you're new around here, stay true around here, hit that thumbs up and hit the notifications bell so that you know when I'm dropping from the portal of pro wrestling. And until next time, you guys, stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next one.